So you'll notice the rulers are in different conditions. The one that I happen to grab, can we see that? Let me zoom maybe. That's really hard to draw a straight line when your ruler has a big divot out of it. What do you think caused that? What is it? Biting, chewing? What else? Possibly. I'm feeling the texture of this, and it's pretty jagged edge. So a couple things could have happened. It could have been blunt force trauma, taking the ruler and banging it on things. They are made of plastic, right? So that will happen. Another flaw on this ruler. How do you think that happened? They are made of plastic. They snap. So what I see a lot of is either people doing this number where they're bending and they're going back and forth with these. These are more expensive materials, so it's really important that we take good care of these. When you bend these, they are not made to be bent, okay? They're not made to be that flexible kind of thing to wrap around things. You're not supposed to do that. So notice my point right there. It's right in the center of the ruler. More than likely, this ruler will snap. One of the reasons this happens, people slide them between their desks, and then they bend them back and forth. Craziness. Why would they ever do that? I don't know. So when you see me flip out because I see people doing weird things with their rulers, now you know why. So these are supposed to be things I can buy one time and not have to buy again. You'll also notice some of them, the numbers are completely worn off. We can see the numbers on this. On yours, when you look at it, you may not be able to see the numbers. The reason that happens, again, people are being naughty with them. They're bending them back and forth. They're rubbing them on their arm. They're rubbing them on their clothing. So just be very aware that these are materials we plan to keep. So when we're doing this process, just be nice to the stuff. That's all I'm asking. Okay, next, I have this large piece of paper. I'm going to set it up. This is newsprint. The purpose of this paper is it's just a flimsy exercise type paper, not meant for final products. We're going to take some notes on this. So first thing, I have it landscape. I'm going to fold it in half. So it's kind of like a book. I'm going to do it one more time. Same way. Now it's like a column or like an accordion or like a pamphlet. And then I'll go ahead and unfold it. It's just going to be so that when I'm talking about how big to make something, it gives us a visual so we're all kind of staying the same. So I'm now going to rotate it so that it's vertical. And I'm going to work in this first top row here. And we're going to start with a few notes. You're fine. You did it right. Here at the top, today, we're going to learn perspective. So when you hear perspective, you could think about it as if I need to gain perspective on something, it's insight. We're going to talk about perspective from an art terminology. So let's start off with writing the definition for perspective, because everything on this sheet will end up being all about perspective. The main idea we're trying to accomplish, if you're putting an image in perspective, is we're trying to make a two-dimensional surface. So think piece of paper, canvas, wall, any 2D surface, we're trying to make it appear 3D. So in my mind, perspective and texture really go hand in hand, right? Because we said textures, we're trying to make a 2D surface appear three-dimensional, giving it a sense of touch. With perspective, it's going to be making a 2D surface appear 3D, like what we've done with our cubes and our spheres and our cones, those same things. But now we're going to have a system for doing that. There's also different kinds of perspective, so we're going to discuss that as well. But first, let's make sure we understand 2D and 3D. If we say something has two dimensions, typically we say that it has length and width. So it's going to go in two ways. So if we go back to our elements of art, the basic element that deals with this is shape. And to make a shape, we start with a line, which is also one of our elements of art. And as a line, it's just a point that extends. That's all it is. So line is a point that extends. So here, if we say a line for a shape, it connects and encloses space. This is also, if you notice, kind of a review for our final. Because now look at this word space. All within here, I now have kind of identified 3 of our elements. So a shape is a line, which is a dot that extends and connects and encloses space. And we've talked about positive and negative space. So space is the area within an artwork. So positive is the space that we're looking at. Negative is the empty or surrounding space. Usually there's something in that space. So we typically say it's the space that's around. So if I was to make a shape, you can make any old shape. So if we follow these rules, we say it's a line. So a line moves. At some point, this line has to connect. And when it connects, now it's enclosing space. So I have the positive space inside. I have the negative space outside. So that should be a quick review. True things? So that's 2D surface. All right. If I make this go away, is that enough time? No? Okay. I want to try to make with perspective the idea that 2D can appear 3D. So to do 3D, we know we have length and width because that's already given with our 2D, but we're going to add one more. That last one we're going to add is depth. That's what makes it 3D. So if I want to turn this shape, which is an element of art, I'm going to turn it into a form, which is also an element of art. Look at us, we're covering everything. So a form is a shape with depth, or we can say that a form has 3 dimensions, or appears to have 3 dimensions, right? So all those ways. So I'll just say, for the sake of simplicity, a form is a shape with depth, or appears to have depth. So how would I turn this shape into a form? I would need to give it depth, because right now, length, width, that sort of idea, or height, width, those different ways of looking at it. So I want to take the same shape again. Too bad it makes such an easy shape. I'm going to try to draw the same shape again over here. Something similar. Mine's a little bit smaller, that's okay. If I want to turn this into a form, I have to give it depth. And that's what we're going to learn today, is how to give this depth. So taking the ideas we took from the light source and such, if I took, and every single time that I'm on the outside edge, that terminator edge, if I took a line down with that terminator edge and I repeated, all of a sudden, I now made that appear 3D. Not saying you have to do that yet, just showing you that's what we're going to do. That's what perspective is. Taking shapes, making them look like forms, using perspective. And perspective is going to be how I figured out where to put those lines. Are you game? Are you ready? Want to do it? Yeah? All right. Okay, I'm going to go to my next section down. Boop. Okay, next section. I'm going to give you some more terminology. So these are some words that can be really important to help us all be on the same page. The first one is our horizon line. And even if I look at the word horizon, I'll zoom back in. You understand we're in the next section. If I look at the word horizon, I can think about the word horizontal, right? So that's left and right. So I kind of tie those two together. So horizontal lines are going left and right and left. When I look out in the distance, if I think of one line consistent, no matter where I am, I will always see a horizon line. And that line is where the sky meets the ground. That's my horizon line. And I'm going to use ground as a universal word because we've talked about things like foreground, middle ground, and background. So ground doesn't have to necessarily be earth. So it could be where the sky meets water. We're still going to call that the ground. So if we think about those different kinds of ground, the ones I just mentioned, foreground, that's what's closest to us. We have the middle ground, and it's not the best definition, but it's the best I've always come up with. It's between the foreground and background, right? Because middle, if you think about that word. So background is the furthest, and middle ground is between. So speaking of ground, we'll learn a lot about design aspects too, especially next semester, and how to manipulate the ground. And we talk about that in Gestalt principles. Ooh, German, can't wait. So our horizon line, it's a horizontal line where the sky meets the ground, and the ground is going to be in the background at that point, right? Because the sky doesn't meet the ground right in front of us at our feet at the foreground. That'd be, well, kind of scary all of a sudden if the world just cut off at my feet. So, anybody imagining that now? Good. So the next thing we need to discuss is a vanishing point. That's what else we need to have, is a vanishing point. And I've been seeing some of your ideas, and I think understanding these concepts will really help you create this process to get your ideas through with your gratitude and future project. So vanishing point, the idea here is that lines meet at the vanishing point. So it's like this meeting place. And the cool thing about a vanishing point is it's so far away, the vanishing point is always on the horizon line. So that vanishing point is always on my horizon line. And there may be multiple vanishing points. It doesn't mean there's just one, but they're going to be on the horizon line. That's a really important point. So they are on the horizon line. As I lose my voice, that was awesome. Now, there are other lines that go in angles or diagonals, and those lines are called orthogonal lines. Now you're feeling really fancy about life because you know what an orthogonal line is now. Orthogonal lines, they're going to be lines that are converging at the vanishing point. Orthogonal lines, they converge. That means they're meeting. They're converging at the vanishing point. So you have this vanishing point, it's just a dot, and what goes to it? Orthogonal lines. Those are my diagonals. They're going right back to my vanishing point. So I'm going to be using horizontal lines, vertical lines, and orthogonal lines. So far we have horizontal, we have orthogonal. So let's make sure we understand what vertical are. Vertical are up and down. And when I'm trying to remember these words, I'm like, okay, which one's which? I don't want to get them confused. One thing that I do is I try to look at the word itself and think of it. So as I already said before, horizon and horizontal. I know that horizon is left and right, so that tells me horizontal is left and right. If I couldn't remember that, maybe vertical I could remember. To me, vertical has this V in the beginning, and for me it looks like it's pointing up and down already. So if I just make that into an arrow, vertical is going up and down. So for my kind of visual people, vertical maybe that's an easy way to remember it. All right, how many of you, out of curiosity, when I'm saying these things, are like, I've done this, I know this? Who's in that boat? So about half of you. That's awesome. Okay, how many of you have done 3-point perspective before? So less, but a few. Okay, so I like to start with 3-point, and typically people start with 1 or 2, but I'm going to start us with 3, just to give you an idea of how this all works. So I'm going to draw a rectangle in this next little section. So I'm doing it almost the height of that entire section, right? So what I want you to imagine is this rectangle is your paper. And I want to put a horizon line near the top. So I'm just freehanding a line across, that's fine. Right where it hits the edge of my box, I'm going to put 2 dots. So already, because you know vocabulary, we just went over vocabulary, we could name these things. So this thing here is my horizon line. I'm just going to put HL so I don't forget. That's my horizon line. So what are these dots called? Yeah, vanishing points, right? So I'm going to put a little VP on each one, little vice presidents, vanishing points. So it sounds intuitive if I tell you that we're going to do 3-point perspective. So 3-point perspective, how many vanishing points should I use? 3. So where's the third vanishing point going to go? All right, I have 2 that I said had to be on the horizon line. And now I'm going to show you how I break the rules already. Ooh, ooh, girl. So down here at the bottom, way off my page, down into this next little layer, I'm going to put my 3rd dot. So 3 point is my exception where the vanishing point is not on the horizon line. I know, right? Already breaking my rules, breaking the law. So first thing I want to do, I'm just going to connect from this bottom dot that I just made. I'm going to bring a line up, not all the way to my horizon line. I'm going to come down from that a little bit, but I'm just going to draw a line to that bottom vanishing point. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the end picture, what we're going to be going for here. 3-point perspective. So the line we just drew is going to be the front side of this building. That way you can kind of see what you're in for. Let's draw the sides of the building. I'm going to use pen. You would use pencil, so that way you can erase any mistakes. I'm just going to randomly draw a line to the right and draw a line to the left. I don't really know how long they need to be. I'm just kind of guessing, and it's always better to make it too long than it is too short. So I went from my vanishing point, that bottom one, and I just randomly made 3 lines. Notice I made the center one the shortest one. That's the only thing I know is it will be shortest. Okay, are you ready? We need to make the top and bottom. Bottom's going to be the easiest, so let's do this one first. Pick a point on that first line we drew. Just pick a point. I'm going to make a little dot on there. From that dot, I'm going to take it to both vanishing points. Now, I don't want to erase a ton, so watch what I do. I'm going to connect this dot to my vanishing point. I'm going to connect one line to the next. I don't have to go any further than that. I'll make it dotted just so you can see what I did. I only need it from there to there. So I picked a point and I took it to that vanishing point. I made this dotted just so I could see what I did. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, same point. This point to my vanishing point. Connect my walls, and I'm just going to make it dotted the rest of the way so you can see what I did. You don't have to, you can if you want to. I think it looks pretty. It looks pretty. So looking at my final example, see how that works? That's going to become the bottom of the building. I need to do the same thing with this front wall to end the front wall, right? So let's do that next. Same thing. I'm going to pick a dot up here at the top. I'm just going to use the very top edge of my building. Why not? Now, here's a little pro tip. If you're having a hard time lining your ruler up, what I like to do is this. I put my pen or pencil, my drawing material, right on my dot. I slide my ruler until it touches, and then I'm able to rotate my ruler until it gets to the dot that I want to use. And now I'm going to connect the front wall to the back wall, and I'll just keep making the dots to show you what I did. Now yours probably won't connect right on the dot like mine did. I kind of visualized beforehand to see where it was going to go. Like I can already see this one's going to be a little bit short probably. I didn't quite guess enough. If your line extended beyond this, please erase any line that goes above this. From this initial line that came up, erase anything above that point. You don't need it now. It's a good time to erase it. So if this extended beyond, erase that line at this time. It's easier to do it as you go versus all at the end, in my opinion, because then as you start adding more lines, then you erase lines you already drew, and then that's frustrating. All right, using my pro tip, go from this dot, push your ruler against, slide it up to your vanishing point, connect the front 2 walls, and I'm going to keep on making a dotted line the rest of the way up so you can see what I did. Now, mine was a little bit short. If yours is short, that's okay. I'm going to come back to my initial line, and I'll extend it until they connect. Woo-hoo! So if you looked at this, you could read this as a book, either opening toward you or away from you, depending on how you saw it. So you could see it as a book that's going away or a book that this spine is coming out. The last thing we need is a top to this building. So looking at this, I need to get this last top up here. Notice everything goes to the vanishing points. In 3-point perspectives, everything goes to a vanishing point. All right then. So I'm going to go from my opposite corner over here, because there's nowhere to go from here. I already went both ways. My opposite corner to my opposite vanishing point. And I've got one line left. Do you see it? Can you figure it out? Opposite corner to opposite vanishing point. I'm going to dot it out just so you can see it. That, my friends, is 3-point perspective in a nutshell. Or in a building, maybe I should say. Not necessarily a nutshell. So, little test. Let's see if you can do this. Next to this, another box. I'm going to change one thing. The vanishing point. I mean the horizon line. Let's put the horizon line down low. That's my horizon line. Let's put vanishing points right where it meets the edge of that little paper piece. Let's keep the dot down here at the bottom just like we did before. So now, the first line coming up, I'm going to take it to the same place. Notice, it's the same first line. Can you make a 3-point perspective with that line? Can you follow the steps we just did before? How tricky can that be? Same steps. I want to make another building, only now the horizon line is lower. Can you follow the same steps? And the only thing that's changed is the horizon line. It's the exact same steps though. Actually, it's a little bit easier in fact. It's right there.
Oh, don't say that.
I'm going to give you a hint. Using those same steps. This is your test. Good luck. Just to see if it made sense. This is your final exam. No. 3 minutes. Make it happen.
Go, go, go.
How much time do we have? Oh, we really have 3 minutes. Wow.
Oh, wait, actually?
That was really funny. What a random thing to say. I'll do it with same steps. Sidewall, sidewall, right? Same starting point we did before. Same base we did before. I made a dot. Take it to one side. I made a dot. I'll take it to the other side. Here's the difference. The top is actually a little easier, isn't it? All I have to do is pick a point, take it to one side, same point, take it to the other. So between these two examples, what's the main difference? Yeah, because that horizon line moved, I can see the top of this one because this is my eye level. The building is below my eye level, so I can see the top. Because the horizon line is in my eye level, I cannot see the top or the bottom in this example. Hey, that's it. Thanks, guys.